For the children of Westall High School in Victoria's Clayton South, there was no indication that the day of the 6th of April 1966 would be among the most remarkable of their lives. Around 11 AM, a group of students was returning to class from a sports lesson at the school's oval when a number of them spotted a large grey and silver saucer-shaped object floating through the sky. Hi folks, I'm Johnny and welcome to The Oddest. I've been enjoying covering some UFO cases recently, so why buck the trend, right? Let's get a wee look at the Westall UFO case. Children ran excitedly out of their classrooms and onto the playground. There was buzzing chatter about flying saucers. We don't want to miss that. It was later alleged that some of the children collapsed with fright, terrified at what they were looking at. Saying all that though, the object that they could see clear as day seemed harmless. The saucer-shaped craft slowly hovered across the school before vanishing over a row of pine trees and landing in a nearby paddock. Around half an hour later, to the excited screams of the children and the disbelief of the teachers, the craft would re-emerge, slowly rising once again above the trees before rapidly shooting off at unearthly speeds to the northeast. Later reports suggested that the craft was being pursued by planes, yet witness statements taken after the fact vary on this detail. A short time after the ship's departure, the school would get another strange visit. However, this time it wasn't from the skies above. This time it was military and police personnel. Of course, the usual protocol took place. Kids and teachers were forbidden from talking about what they had seen that day. The principal of the school soon released a statement to the media saying that the whole thing was nothing more than a case of mass hysteria.
A teacher who claimed to see UFOs hovering over a Melbourne school says military officials threatened to have him fired if he ever spoke about the incident. Andrew Greenwood is talking publicly about the famous Westall High sightings 55 years ago for the first time.
Those that were there that day, that witnessed these events, were obviously left with so many questions, but no answers would come. Now, 56 years later, many of them are still looking. Westall is the unofficial name of an area called Clayton South. This tiny suburb has been inhabited by European settlers since the mid-1800s, and it sits around 13 miles outside of Melbourne's city centre. Westall was first synonymous for farming and produce, but by the 1950s it was expanding and moving to more industrial ventures by opening a Volkswagen factory and assembly line. This, of course, would attract more residents and businesses, and jobs were now in abundance. Despite all this, Clayton South is a relatively small suburb, even to this day with a population of less than 15,000 people. Melbourne itself had a rapid influx of migrants looking to settle there, attracted by the growing industrialisation and lucrative job offers. Underneath it all, there was still fear and unease. People were afraid, and not without reason. The terrible devastation caused by World War II were still within living memory. Then, as now, there was no guarantee that far worse would not take place in the future. So, it was against this prosperous yet paranoid background that the Westall sighting took place. There are many, many stories of aliens and UFO encounters in Australia. Far too many to mention, but I'm sure I will cover most of the interesting ones in an upcoming video. The case of the Westall UFO sighting certainly stands out from the usual unknown and strange lights in the sky type of incident, often spotted by a single witness and proved by a grainy photo or shaky video. This incident, similar to that of the aerial school case, was seen by hundreds of witnesses and attracted the attention of the police and the Royal Australian Air Force. Although the sheer number of witness accounts offers a much higher degree of credibility in these cases, it does not offer greater clarity. Inconsistencies in testimonies, pressure to keep quiet, and other mysterious events would mean that the truth would remain elusive. Shane Ryan, a teacher from Canberra and also an amateur investigator, helped the search for answers in recent years. In 2011, he created a documentary called Westall 66, a suburban UFO mystery. This documentary certainly helped bring the case to the masses, gathering a national and international crowd of viewers. But despite all this, the government has still failed to come forth to address the case or release some sort of statement. Of course, like so many other cases similar to this one, with no official explanation given, theories range from experimental government craft or mass hysteria to the old chestnut of weather balloons. Had this been in Europe or the United States during that time period, I'm sure the government would have cited the Cold War as a reason. But it's Australia. So what really happened that non-assuming normal day in Westall? An intriguing variation on the weather balloon explanation. UFO researcher Keith Basterfield suggested in 2014 that it may have been the result of a secret radiation testing project. Using the Freedom of Information Act and laws and existing documentation from the National Archives, Basterfield found evidence of the Hibal program, which was a joint US-Australian project that ran from 1960 until 69. During this span, large silver balloons were used to monitor radiation levels, largely due to the controversial nuclear tests that had taken place in Maralinga, South Australia just a few years before. These balloons were equipped with a 180 kilogram payload of relevant testing equipment and were followed by a light aircraft responsible for remotely triggering its parachute to descend. The documentation Basterfield uncovered suggested that one of these balloons may have been blown off course towards Clayton South after launching near Mildura. Such an explanation certainly fits and explains the presence of both the police and the military at the school. Though with the launch documentation either missing or destroyed, Basterfield admitted that he can't be entirely certain that the balloon is the culprit. Experts say that it's still a very open-ended mystery. Until the Defence Department opens up their files and shares what they've got, we'll never know. Irrespective of what actually happened, the Westall UFO undeniably had a profound impact on the lives of all those who witnessed it. Numerous witnesses still regularly appear in the media to discuss this case. Shane Ryan continues to investigate, looking for the truth and acting as support for those who witnessed the UFO firsthand. It's hard to know whether the answers will ever come completely apparent. And to some degree, it may not even matter. Let's face it, if the government came out tomorrow and admitted everything, saying that it was a top secret government project, then the masses that believe otherwise would simply say it was just a cover-up. Whatever happened that day, it remains one of the most profound UFO encounters in modern history. I honestly doubt we will ever get definitive answers for this, and many cases like it. The only thing I think will make a difference is if another more recent case occurs. Who knows? Maybe we won't need to wait too long for that to happen. That's it for another story, folks. Thanks once again for hanging out with me today. Stay safe, and as always, keep smiling.